Some people wake up every day with a single thought quietly sitting in the back of their mind. Something bad is going to happen. It doesn't matter if life is calm, stable, or finally falling into place. Their nervous system is still preparing for impact. They can't relax. They can't enjoy the moment. They can't fully trust anything good. And the truth is painful. When you spend years living in survival mode, peace doesn't feel safe. Peace feels suspicious. Peace feels temporary. Peace feels like the silence before the storm. So you start expecting disaster even when nothing is wrong. And that expectation becomes a habit, a belief, a psychological reflex you didn't choose, but learned. People who always expect the worst aren't pessimistic by nature. They're people whose past taught them that safety is an illusion, that good moments don't last, that every time they let their guard down, something broke, someone left, or life collapsed. When your nervous system learns danger before it ever learns security, your body prepares for pain even when there is no threat. You stay alert. You scan for problems. You imagine the worst-case scenario in every situation, not because you want to suffer, but because your mind is trying to protect you from surprises. It believes that if you predict the pain, it won't hurt as much when it arrives. This is the dark psychology of hypervigilance, a state where fear becomes a strategy, not an emotion. People who expect something bad to happen are often the same people who grew up never knowing when the next emotional hit would come. Maybe love felt inconsistent. Maybe affection came with conditions. Maybe silence meant danger. Maybe safety depended on someone else's mood. Or maybe life simply taught you unpredictability too early. And unpredictability repeated enough times trains the mind to fear anything that feels steady. When chaos becomes familiar, calm feels foreign. So even when nothing is wrong, you feel wrong. You wait for something to break because your body remembers what it is like to lose everything the moment you finally relax. Your expectations aren't irrational. They're shaped by experience. Pain taught you to be prepared. Fear taught you to be alert. The past taught you that happiness is fragile, and so now you flinch at the quiet. But there's something even darker beneath this pattern. Expecting something bad becomes a form of emotional control. If you assume the worst, you can't be disappointed. If you brace for impact, you won't be caught off guard. If you predict disaster, you feel a sense of power. Even if it's an illusion, there is a strange comfort in expecting negativity because it feels familiar. Familiarity feels safer than the unknown. People say they want peace, but peace requires trust. Peace requires vulnerability. Peace requires letting go of control. And for someone who has lived their whole life preparing for pain, trust feels dangerous. Vulnerability feels irresponsible. And letting go feels like a setup for heartbreak. So the mind chooses fear over hope, not because fear feels good, but because hope feels risky. And here is the hidden truth most people never admit. Some people would rather live in anxiety than face the terrifying possibility that good things might last. Why? Because if good things last, then losing them becomes unbearable. So the mind stays one step ahead, always imagining loss, betrayal, illness, failure, rejection. Not because these things are happening, but because the mind is rehearsing them to avoid shock. This rehearsal becomes a loop, a cognitive trap that feels protective but slowly becomes destructive. You start sabotaging opportunities. You withdraw from people who care about you. You downplay your achievements. You avoid joy. You shrink your world to avoid disappointment. And all of it is done quietly, unconsciously, in the name of emotional safety. The saddest part is that expecting something bad becomes so automatic that people don't even realize they are doing it. You might think you're being realistic, careful, or prepared, when in reality you're reliving the emotional patterns of the past over and over again. You're reacting to old wounds with new circumstances. You're preparing for battles that aren't happening. You're fighting ghosts, and these ghosts disguise themselves as logic, intuition, or caution. But deep down, it's fear. Fear disguised as wisdom. Fear disguised as maturity. Fear disguised as self-protection. Anxiety becomes the narrator of your life, telling you that the worst is always around the corner. And without realizing it, you start living as if it already is. This mindset doesn't just protect you from pain, it also blocks you from joy. You can't enjoy relationships because you're waiting for them to end. You can't enjoy success because you're waiting for it to fall apart. You can't enjoy peace because you think it's temporary. You can't enjoy yourself because you're convinced something is wrong with you for even wanting happiness. People who expect the worst are not dramatic. They are wounded. They learned early on that reality can shift without warning, and that knowledge shaped their perception of everything. Their fear is not fictional, it's familiar. But familiar does not mean healthy. Familiar does not mean true, and familiar does not mean permanent. What most people don't realize is that this constant expectation of disaster rewires the brain over time. Your body stays tense, your breath stays shallow, your muscles stay tight, your sleep becomes light, your thoughts spiral before you can stop them. You live in a state of emotional anticipation, always bracing for a hit that never comes. And even when life is genuinely good, your mind doesn't believe it, because belief requires trust, and trust requires safety. And safety for many people was never something they were taught to feel. Your nervous system doesn't respond to facts, it responds to memory. If your memory is full of instability, your body assumes instability is the default. But here is the most important truth. The fact that you expect something bad to happen doesn't mean you as broken. It means you adapted, you survived. You learned to predict danger because danger was once real. Your mind is not against you, it is protecting an older version of you. And the moment you understand this, something shifts. You stop fighting your fear and start understanding it. You stop blaming yourself and start connecting the dots. You stop seeing anxiety as a flaw and start seeing it as a pattern that can be changed slowly, gently, with awareness. The expectation of tragedy is not your identity. It's a scar, and scars don't define you. They remind you, if any part of this felt painfully accurate, you're not alone. Many people live in this silent state of emotional readiness, pretending it is just being cautious, when it is really old fear wearing a new mask. But the moment you recognize the pattern is the moment you begin loosening its grip. Awareness is the first crack in the armor. And once the armor cracks, the truth can finally come through. Not everything good ends. Not every quiet moment hides a storm. Not every calm is a warning. Some peace is real. Some joy is safe. Some moments are meant to be lived instead of feared. You deserve to experience life without holding your breath, and learning that is the beginning of freedom. Now tell me, did this video describe a part of you that you never talk about? Did you hear something you've always felt but never said out loud? Comment yes if you related to this, and subscribe to Inner Ghosts for more dark psychology truths most people are afraid to confront.